All right, guys, just not sure if this is something that's going to work or not. I'm recording my screen. I'm not sharing with anybody. It shows I'm sharing, but I'm just using this for a recording device instead of my normal Camtasia. Uh, had a pretty good trading day for opportunities as far as opportunities goes. And from a couple of different people, some of you have seen this, reached out and mentioned how good the trading was. And then others were just like, well, it's another one of these days where I can't find a trade. You should have been able to find a trade today. We have two different ways to mark open range. So this is a 5-minute chart. We can use the 5-minute candle, the high and the low of that candle. So we can do it that way, or we can just use the pivot. And I like the pivot better. So we would go from the low of this candle to the high up here, and that becomes our open range. Now, that was a gap fade. It didn't immediately close the gap, which is what threw a lot of people off this morning. Trading gap is something that takes a lot of skill, a lot of practice. Months of education goes into trading the gap. So if you can't trade it or you just don't see the opportunity, don't worry about it. It doesn't have to be traded. But look at what we had after that. The market formed the range. We then had the open range, and then we had a breakout of the open range. Guys, that's what we're looking for. There's your open range breakout. All you had to do is wait for the Busby. Now, you would have had to front run that Busby based on the Globex levels that we had back here, but it was a tradable opportunity. So you had that going for you, and now we're in lunch. And what are we now waiting for? We had it already, the breakout from lunch, and we just need to see our Busby. That right there might actually have been the Busby, and maybe it just didn't come down, and we'd have to front run it. This is one of the reasons that I don't like using a 5-minute for my Busbys. I'd rather wait for a 15. And then it comes down to the fact that on a 5-minute Busby, you'll get these wicks down and you're thinking, well, oh no, I'm going to need to front run this because it's just not going to come back to support. So you jump in, and then in the next candle, it continues to go lower, and now you're taking heat all the way back down to the top of structure. When if you would have been on a 15, you would realize that, okay, don't have my entry yet, you're not getting in too soon, and it gives you the time that you need to let price play out. Of course, it always does come down to the fact that you could miss some trades, right? That is always a possibility. But look at the day we've had so far, and look at these opportunities as they presented themselves. These are exactly the things that we cover in all the educational content, recognizing the structure, the possibility, the opportunity, and then deciding which trade entry we're going to use. Is it going to be a resting order? Am I going to wait for it to make contact and jump in on the run? Am I going to trade the breakdown? Now, you guys have already heard me, I'm sure, say I don't personally trade breakouts. That doesn't mean you can't trade it. It just means that I don't like them. The risk reward sucks, and so does the win rate, right? So when you put those two numbers together, they just scream, don't trade me, and I don't. But that doesn't mean you can't if that's something you decide to do. Guys, these are really great trade opportunities today. This should have been something very exciting for everybody. This is the day, right? Out of all week when we haven't had the trades that we study so hard to learn and to capture and to look for, today we had those days. We had those trades. So go back and look at this again. I am only on the ES at the moment. Maybe we'll go in and do another one on the NASDAQ, but the opportunities are there. This is exactly what we focus on. This is what the learning involves, are these opportunities to be able to look in the toolbox and say, all right, well, what else do I have in here that can help me take a trade today? What's the next location where there could be a trade opportunity? And that way you're just not stuck at the computer all day long looking at every single candle as it ticks by, asking if now is the one. Is it now? What about now? Maybe now. What about now? And now? Nobody wants to be stuck like that, right? That sucks. So there you go. I'm gonna end this recording and see how it does with the Zoom. Maybe I've got another video tool to be able to do some recordings and not have to be stuck with Camtasia.